Hello everybody, CW here. It's another Friday. Boy, these days are just flying by. Today's the first Friday of the new year. Welcome to 2023. And I got a couple of comments in my last video because my opening picture, or I think it's because my opening picture wasn't the knife that I featured in my video. This was the knife that I featured in my picture, and it's a buck. So I decided to bring out a couple of them. These two are the same. They're just different sheaths. They're both about the same vintage knife. Actually, all three of these are about the same vintage knife. And I should have looked it up before the video, been a little better prepared. So I don't know exactly the manufacture date, but I will show you why I know these are all three about the same vintage. The one in the video, the one that this video is primarily about, is this one here. It's a Buck 124, and it's their biggest of their series. It's a good sized blade. Now it's got a pretty thick spine of just over 1/4 of an inch. It's actually quite a bit over. I'm sorry, 1/8 of an inch. Just over 1/8 of an inch. It's a solid 3/16 plus thick blade. It's got a cut on the surface on the tip here that's not sharpened, and it's a 6 3/4 inch blade with a 6 1/4 inch cutting surface. And this is older buck steel. Now, if you look on here, let me see, maybe I can zoom you in, and then what I'm worried about is getting you zoomed back out. So what we've got here is Buck 124, and that's of course the model. But you see the U.S.A with Buck on top, 124, and then U.S.A. That is how you can tell the age of the bucks. Now you can look this up online, and it'll tell you the age of this knife, or the build date of this knife. Now that's the 124, and both of these are 119s. Now they're the same knife, they just have different sheaths. And if I zoom in over here, you'll see the same thing. You'll see Buck 119 U.S.A. That tells you that they're the same vintage. And that's this one here. And then the last one is my favorite of the series, and it's partially because of the sheath. I really like these danglers. These are slang of these is danglers. And a lot of these sheaths are marked for their model, but not all of them. So this one here isn't. This one here is. And this one here's, it's got some wear on it. It's been used. This is my least favorite sheath. And this one here, somebody's modified this by bending this. I don't believe this is a factory part. They're all a little bit longer on the bottom, and I've still got you zoomed in, so you're not going to be able to see. Sorry about that. Dimensionally, they're the same. Everything's identical with the knives. These blades are still the same thickness as the 124. They're a 3/16 steel, and the blades on these are 5 3/4 with a cutting surface of 5 1/4. And again, these two are the same with the same vintage. You can see the markings on the hilt of the blade there, and they're the same Buck, same type. And sometimes you'll find the USA in a different place. Sometimes the 119 will be in a different place, or the model number, and the lettering is different. And all of those will tell you, the different ages. Now, bucks are this vintage anyway, there was a lot of handwork in them. And you can see it on these two blades because they're not identical. Now, this one here that I like has seen more sharpening because the tip, you can see it. It's not quite as pointy. It's a little bit different. And part of that is, you know, the hand work that's done on these knives, or was done on these knives of this vintage. And the modern ones today are all machined, but these will be just a little bit different because of the fact that they're, you know, hand worked on. So the person who worked on this one is a different person than worked on this one. But telltale signs of these knives, you can see the little belly in here, and that comes from sharpening. This one hasn't been sharpened as much, so it's still good and straight as it was out of the factory. Where this one here has got a little belly in it, you know, material's been removed. The tip is a little different shape because of the sharpening. So this one's just, I don't know why, but this one is just my favorite, moreover, than this one. So let's look at these a little bit closer here in comparison. The handle is bigger. The handle is pinned. They're both, these are a full tang, but I believe they're a tapered tang. I think this is threaded on, I believe the construction here, where this one here is a typical full tang that you're used to, you know, with sandwiched scales on either side. And these are also a plastic material. Holds up really well, and it's the black plastic epoxy impregnated material that Buck's used forever. And this one here is micarta. And let me see if I can get it so that you can see the pattern in there. I'm hoping you can see that. I can see what you see, but not as good as you guys can. So I'm hoping that the pattern in there shows up. It looks the same from a distance, but up close you can tell it isn't. And there's also slight finger grooves in all of these handles. This is one that I've wanted for a really long time, and trying to buy one. Missed out on a couple of good deals online. Finally picked this one up on eBay. Oh God, a good 10 years ago. And they've really skyrocketed in price. You know, this one has seen quite a bit of use. It's seen quite a bit of sharpening, but it's been taken care of. There's no real abuse on it. You can see it's got some marks here from carrying where it's flopping around or banging against something when it's in its sheath. You know, it's exposed. And it's a good sized knife. It's not overly heavy, but it's a really good quality knife with really, really good steel. This is the Buck steel that everybody, you know, they earned their reputation on, is what I should say. And let's see if this is as sharp as I remember. It's a fairly blunt blade. It's sharp. It's not quite as sharp as others. It's sharp, but it's a blunt blade. You know, it doesn't have a very shallow taper. It's a pretty blunt blade, so it's more a what am I trying to say? It doesn't, it's not like a fillet knife. Well, let's see how this one is. This one here is a little bit sharper. As you can see there, it gets... This one's a little bit sharper. Anytime you can pull those curls in paper, you know, you got a pretty sharp blade. And let's try this one here. This one here I think is pretty sharp as well. This one's closer to the 124. Sharp, but not parts are pretty sharp. It's not bad, but it's not a razor. It feels pretty good to your hand, you know, to check it, but it's not quite as sharp as this one here. So there we go. This is the Buck 119. I think I've got a newer one as well that I picked up just to have a newer generation, but it's not as good as steel. They changed them just a little bit, and it's got a sheath similar to this, but it's not a dangler, a nice dangler like these are. Excuse me. So there we go. That's my installment for this week here. The Buck 124 with a couple of personal favorites. The 119. God bless everybody. CW out.